Hello everyone, Ember Power here, and welcome back to a new video. In this one, I'm going to be taking a look at a really fun deck that I've been enjoying playing in Standard, and that is going to be Mismagius Spread. So, Mismagius, 90 HP Psychic Pokemon, has the ability Spiteful Magic that says if this Pokemon has full HP and is knocked out by damage from attack from your opponent's Pokemon, put 8 damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. So a lot of Pokemon just do one-hit KOs in Standard right now. There's actually very few that can't really do one-hit KOs. Like, they can't really do less than 90 damage. So Spiteful Magic, pretty cool ability, will allow us to place 8 damage counters when this guy gets knocked out. Also has the attack Eerie Voice that allows us to put 2 damage counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon. And this Pokemon happens to have like pretty decent synergy with Mimikyu. So Mimikyu has the attack Worst Gift. For 1 Psychic and a Colorless, does 10 damage for each damage counter on all of your opponent's Pokemon, which is pretty solid after we've, made our opponent go through several Mismagius, which is kind of the plan, as well as, something like a Miltank as well, which has a decent attack in the form of Route in the mid to late game, as well as Miracle Body to, disrupt our opponent a bit. So that's kind of like the main premise of the deck, and then everything else is kind of based around helping out the strategy. So we have some other cute Pokemon, like we have a Reshiram from Celebrations. Nothing too crazy. I started off with this deck playing a lot of copies of these, and then I've kind of gradually gone like down and down and down with the amount I play. But Scorching Wind does 20 damage to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. It's an okay attack, and we do play several copies of Twin Energy, so we can make use of it. It's also why we play the Radiant Zard, so we can use Twin Energy as well as basic Fire Energy to power up Radiant Zards to use Combustion Blast. Later on in the game, 250 damage, decent amount of damage to be hitting, especially when combined with Choice Belt, we can knock out a V-Star. It just basically helps us, clean up in the late game essentially, because Mismagius and Mimikyu, although they are pretty decent, they typically don't have a ton of power between them, and we kind of want Radiant Zard in the late game to act as a bit of a Hoover. So, yeah, that's our Hoover Pokemon, is Radiant Zard. We also have a Glaring Zigzagoon, which allows us to place a damage counter when we bench it. It's a kind of a one-off use kind of thing because I'm not actually playing any Scoop Nets, but still pretty decent. Just throw it on the bench, place a damage counter. Then we also have a Drapion V in here with the ability Wild Style, which lets attacks cost 1 cost less, feature our opponent's Single Strike, Rapid Strike, and Fusion Strike Pokemon in play. So Dynamic Tail is basically here to get a 1-hit KO against a Mew VMAX, and that's basically it. Basically makes that matchup just a little bit better, but it's mainly here just to take out Mew and then, hopefully give us a better time. We also have Miltank with the Miracle Body, which will give it immunity from Pokemon V. Also has the attack Route. It does 10 damage and then 20 more for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon, which, to be fair, isn't the worst attack in the world, especially not with Twin Energy when we can just pay for it in one attachment. It just means that we have this extra attacker that we can use and potentially buy us some more time to set up our board. We also have 1 Castform in here because we're never going to attack with Castform, don't worry. But I do really like the free retreat cost. It has nothing to do with the fact that it has this amazing artwork in the background, but free retreat is obviously really nice to have in a deck like this because we don't really know what we're going to have to attack with or what we're going to be able to attack with sometimes. So being able to promote something like a Castform is pretty decent. Also, most of our attackers only have 90 or so HP, so Mimikyu, Castform, then the Mischievous, Mismagius, as well as Glaring Zigzagoon. So we can use stuff like Level Ball, which is helpful. And that's kind of like it, roughly, for Pokemon, I would say. Looking at the trainers, there is some interesting ones that we probably should go over. Stuff like Gapejaw Bog, whenever each player plays a basic Pokemon from their hand onto the bench, plays 2 damage counters. It's also really good to have a stadium card because stuff like Lost City is obviously going to be a bit of a problem. So being able to Gapejaw Bog, their stadium away is obviously pretty good. So we're going to 4 copies of that. Also playing 4 Colorless Experiment because one thing I realized with several of these like gimmicky single price decks is that you really want high draw power in some of the earlier turns, and Colorless Experiment really helps with that. Being able to see like 5 cards in a turn, and then 3 go in the hand, 2 get sent to Lost Zone, never to be seen again, which is a bit unfortunate. And maybe you could make some kind of Cramorant Sableye spread deck with Lost Zone, but honestly I've been playing so much Lost Zone recently, I wanted to try something different, so Colorless Experiment, still a very good supporter card. Would definitely recommend 100%. Also have 3 Morning here, just to act as a bit of disruption. 3 Research, Classic, Discard Your Hand, Draw 7, and then 3 copies of Raihan. Even though most of our attacks only need 1 or 2 energy, it is nice to have as well, just as an extra way of accelerating cards, energy cards rather, and as well as shooting out anything that we need. Also play 2 Choice Belt to allow a Radiant Zord to do additional damage, which is nice, as well as Mimikyu. 4 copies of Horus Psychic Energy, so if our opponent, attacks into Mismagius, as they're potentially taking 100 damage counters, which is really nice. Then we also play 3 Twin Energy, 2 Fire, and 3 Basic Psychic. But yeah, that's kind of like it for Mismagius. Pretty fun deck. Obviously nothing too crazy, too competitive, but yeah, pretty fun to mess around with. Let me know what you think about this down below. Thanks for watching. It's been Empower. Thank you for watching.